Hello everyone and welcome back, and today I'll be changing oil on the Volkswagen Mark 4 Golf 2 liter. It's going to be 2003, but also it's going to be a manual transmission. It should basically be the same thing if the car's automatic. So what I usually use is, well, in the past for the Volkswagens I've driven, I've usually used I guess one of these three brands. I've been happy with them. I've usually used Melee. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I've used Man Filter, and I've gotten filters from the dealership. I've been happy with all three. For the car I'll be doing it on, these are the proper part numbers. Like for Melee, it's OC264. For Man, it's W719/30. And for Volkswagen, you can see the part number there. It's kind of hard for me to see. I don't have my glasses on. So anyways, I've been happy with all these three filters with all the Volkswagens I've driven in the past. I've never had any problems. Another thing I get is a new drain plug, and you can't forget the gasket. I usually highly recommend that you, on any car when you change the oil, to get the new gasket. Another thing I use is, I got this from Canadian Tire. It's basically, with the old filter, you just put it in, you can't roll it up, and you just seal it up. But you can even use a grocery bag or a small garbage bag to basically do the same thing. You just, with the old oil dumped out from the filter, you just put it in the bag, you just tie it up. And when you're done, you don't throw it out. You can usually go back to a place like Canadian Tire or a car parts place, or some garages. I'm sure they'll take back the old filter. Even the old engine oil, you could drop it off at Canadian Tire, and whichever other places will take it. You'll need an oil drain pan to basically drain the oil into. And you either use a wrench or a socket. For this car, it'll need to be 19mm, a 19mm socket, or a 19mm wrench. If you just have the wrench, you'll be fine with it. You don't have to go running out to the store to get the socket. If you have the socket, you don't have to go running out to the store to get the other wrench. So I can do the job with either or. For me, I just find it easier to do it with this here, because you don't have to turn the drain plug, take it out, turn it again, pull it out, turn it again. So at least with this here, you just keep on going until it's tight or until it's off. So, but like I said again, if you just have the wrench, you don't need this here. If you have the socket, you don't have to go running out to the store to get this here. But anyways, give me a few moments and I'll... Oh, another thing you'll need, sorry, is paper towel. Just to wipe up a few things, and when you check the oil on the dipstick when you fill it up, you'll have to clean it off quite a few times just to check the oil level. So I'll see you guys outside. So I'm back. One of the things I forgot to mention, obviously what you need for an oil change is oil, which I forgot to mention. I'm using 5W40, which is basically recommended by Volkswagen for this car. And I have some, crap, I just forgot the word, some funnels, which you'll need to well, make it easier to put the oil in the car. So what I'm going to do first, well actually, I've got the car on ramps to make it easier to get underneath. I'm just going to take the cap off here for the where you fill up the oil, and dipstick, just going to get this paper towel, dipstick, I'm just going to take out. dipstick I'm going to take out and just wipe off the end. Kind of hard to do it one-handed, but just take the oil off. And I'll see you under the car. And well, actually, just give me a second, just have to get my tools. So, just trying to bring 2 paper towels with me. 2 paper towels. And I'm going to bring the socket with me and have the oil drain man. Now for the oil drain plug, it's right over here. Right hand is. And you'll want to have the oil pan right nearby so it doesn't spill on the ground. Maybe a bit tight. So I'm just going to stop the video, stop recording, because I'll need the 2 hands for this. So sorry if I'm back. It was a bit tight to get off. So you can basically just from here do it with 2 hands. Or sometimes you might need this at some spots. I don't like using a power tool for this because when you go to put it on, for example, you can strip the threads, which isn't good because you may have to get a new oil pan, which was needed one time for this car because the oil was leaking a bit. So just keep going. It's not going to bother me if the old drain plug falls in the thing there, because you're going to put on the new oil drain plug anyways. So I can feel that it's almost about to come off, and there comes the oil. And you just let the oil come out until it's dripping. Just sometimes, like a very, very slow drip. So, give me a few seconds, I'll be back there. So we're back, and I don't know if you can see it, it's just a light drip. Now, you can just wipe it off a bit. You can take your new, well, just thread it, take your new drain plug. Thread it in by hand. You want to make sure not to cross thread it. Which should go fairly easy. And when you have the plug sort of on, you can just wipe it down. And you could just move the oil pan a bit to the side. And you just take your tool and just screw it back on. Actually, I'll just take this here to make it go faster. If it's cross-threaded, it wouldn't be going on too easily. Like I mentioned before, I'd rather do it by hand instead of using like a power tool, If it is cross-threaded, you can strip things. And that's all it's done. And you do it nice and snug. And should be good. And I'll see you guys again in a few moments. So now we're going to take off the filter, which is down here. What you're going to want to do is turn it clockwise, like when the arms and the clock are going around, not the digital clock, but the ones with the arms, like that. So it goes clockwise. At the beginning it might be a bit tough to do it, but you have to be a bit determined. You might make some faces when you're twisting and stuff, but so it's down here. I already made it a bit loose. I have the oil drain pan right underneath, just in case some oil comes out. But what I'm going to do also is just take a plastic bag and just kind of put it around the filter, just to help prevent oil from dripping out. So I usually put the plastic bag after I've made it loose, and you turn it clockwise. Just keep on twisting until, oh, there's oil coming. Just keep on twisting. Shoot. There might be some oil in the driveway until my wife finds out. Oh shoot, she's filming. There's no oil coming on the driveway, I promise. I'll clean it up if there's anything on the driveway. You just take some dish soap, put it on the spot. There you go. It looks like there's no, I think I'm lucky there's no oil on the driveway. You just bring up the oil filter. And just gonna put it in the corner here. Standing up. Make sure it's in a good, just have it standing up so you don't spill any oil. Just put my hands with it. Now what you do is you take the new filter. Oh, oil in hands. Just gonna take some oil. It's new oil. Just gonna put some oil on my finger to make it wet. And on the rubber seal here, I'm just gonna put a layer of oil, basically where all the rubber is, on the sides of it too. And you go back down. And there's going to be like a small finger with threads on it, which you have to kind of feel for. The finger with threads, you just screw onto this here. So you have to kind of do it by feel. And this time you screw it on counterclockwise. But be careful when you're putting on so you don't cross the threads, so you don't damage anything. It might be a bit easier if your hands aren't oily. Just wipe this down a bit. So, yeah, so you just want to make sure they don't cross thread it. If it's You'll feel that will catch, and if it's not cross-threaded, it'll go on smooth. And you just want to make sure it's on good. You can see it's down here. Let's try to do it. Just try to use the rag of it too, so you get less slip from the oil. It's really oily a bit if your hands are oily. You just make sure it's on good and tight. So, next step would just be, since the car is on ramps, I'm going to have someone sit inside the car. I'm going to have the car pushed off the ramps, but do not start the engine, because you'll damage your engine. So the reason I'm pushing it off the ramps is to have it on a flat surface when I fill the oil here. So I'll get back to you people in a few moments after I get the car off the ramps. But remember, do not start the engine with no engine oil. Okay, so I'm just going to put the engine oil in. I've got a funnel. I'm using 5W40. I'm using the Castrol Edge, but if you want, you can use almost anything you want. I've used Motul, and I've used Liquid Moly also, which are basically the three oils I've used for all the Volkswagens I've had. I've been happy with them, but you don't have to use this specifically, but just make sure it's 5W40, because that's what's recommended by Volkswagen, at least for this model. So I forget how many liters it takes, but I'm gonna put some in, then I'm just gonna check the dipstick every once in a while, just to make sure I don't overfill it. But when you put it in, just kind of take your time, because it's always better to add than overfilling. Because if you overfill, then you'll have to drain the oil again. It's kind of hard to see, but there's like the measurements on the side here. I guess once it starts hitting 3 liters, or well, actually it's 5 liters, but once it hits 2 liters, which is on this side here, I'm going to start double checking the dipstick. But it's kind of hard to tell with the lighting. I'm not sure where it is, but I'll just put a tiny bit more, then I'll start checking the dipstick. So on the dipstick, you can see that it's not showing anything, but you'll want the oil level to be in this cross section here, where you see like the X marks. So you can see that it's not even touching the bottom, but from the bottom line to the top line, that's about 1 liter, if you ever need to know. So just add a bit more. Okay, now it's starting to show on the bottom of it. You can see that it's kind of wet in the bottom, so you'll probably need about 1.5 liters. But I'm just gonna do it visually a bit. So now you just want to do a tiny bit at a time. Just like I mentioned before, it's always better to do it slowly. Slowly coming up. So it's starting to get in that cross section there. Gonna check one more time. Yeah, so it needs about a half liter. So we'll just add a bit more. Trying to get up there. So you can see it's starting to get to the top of the cross section. What I'm going to do is when it gets near to the top, or at the top, I'm just going to start the engine so the oil can get to where it has to, and so it fills up the oil filter too. And then what I'm going to do is when the engine's off, I'm gonna recheck the oil level. So it's slightly high. I'm not too concerned because some of the oil has to go in the filter. What I'm gonna do is just take out the funnel. Put the cap on. I'm just going to start the car. So what I'm going to do is one thing is you can see the oil light there. Just as long as the light doesn't come on, you should have good oil pressure. I'm just waiting for the RPM to come down. I guess you don't really have to wait for the RPM to come down, but that's just how I like doing things, I guess. Everyone has their own way of doing things. But I guess also just to give the oil some time to circulate where it has to go. I've got to eventually figure out why the check engine light is on, so. Just check the oil level. You can see it's going to drop down, so just add a bit more oil. Needs about half a liter. So looks about fine. The oil level. Yeah, looks good. So I'm gonna take this out. Just gonna start the engine one more time just to have a quick look to see if there's any oil leaks. But if you tighten things good enough, it shouldn't be leaking. On the engines, because the fan light starts spinning, you can just look around here. You just look around the filter to see if you see any oil coming out. And if you want, you just come on the ground also to see if you see any oil filter. Everything looks okay. So that's basically how you do an oil change. Thanks for watching. So I'm back again. Last thing I forgot to mention was with the used engine oil and the oil that was in the filter, you could just put it back in the container that you'd use for the oil change for your car. And the oil filter you just put in this bag. It kind of rolls up a bit, and there's like a tape section on the side, or an adhesive. And the used engine oil and filter you could bring back to places like a Canadian Tire, for example, or I'm sure there's plenty of other drop-off areas that you'd bring the used oil and filters. So thanks again for watching. I hope it was interesting. Bye.